that I can just go on and on and on and on. And anytime you would like to interrupt me is more than welcome, because I can just keep sort of going on and on. So please, I encourage you to interrupt me whenever you like. So WMEP, we are a pretty unique entity, but our mission really is to help manufacturing companies throughout the state of Wisconsin to become more profitable, more productive, and more valuable. You can see the 6 service lines that we offer, ranging from growth and strategy to human capital to operational excellence to automation and technology to the certifications and standards. We even touch on sustainability. We're going to get deep into all of these service lines, but really the overarching message here is we are capable of having big picture conversations with manufacturers, small to mid-sized manufacturers, about where is your business today? Where would you like your business to be in the future? And what are the things getting in the way of you achieving that future state? And there's a lot that we can do. And our job really is to help you to move forward. So who are we? You know, you can read our mission statement. We optimize stakeholder value and all fancy words like that. But really, we're a nonprofit, mission-based consulting firm. Those, in a normal world, those words don't really go together, but we're different in that we are partially funded by the federal government and by the state of Wisconsin, and we're nonprofit, so we're really focused on the outcomes, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But it really is about helping manufacturers become more profitable and more valuable. So we're private, nonprofit, so that we're independent. Even though we're partially funded by the federal government and by the state, we're a private entity. So we are not, I do not tell folks I am not here. I don't tell folks that I'm here from the government and I'm here to help, because that's not true. I am not from the government, but I am here to help. We do have a little bit of government money that comes in here, but we are our own entity that makes our own decisions about how we help companies. But we are part of a loose-knit federal network, the MEP National Network. There is at least one MEP center in every state around the country, and we're all independent entities. So how Enterprise Minnesota runs its business is different how WMEP runs our business, and IMEC in Illinois, or TMAC down in Texas, and so on and so forth. Each one is independent. Each one is able to listen to the business community in its state and to help them with their own specialized needs. So we have a whole suite of services that range on all the service lines that we talked about before. But one thing that is a little different is that we often don't lead with a specific service. We do a lot of assessments in our business, and they can range, and these are low cost assessments. The cost ranges from $1,500 all the way up. The most expensive assessment I think that we offer is about $4,000. They're all money back guarantee, but each one is designed to help clients really focus on where they are. So if poor Brian, who he and I have known each other for a long time. So if Brian came to us and said, you know, Wayne and we're not really sure how to increase capacity. And that's not, I'm putting words in his mouth, but let's pretend like Brian said that. We could tell him, our response might be, well, Brian, there are a number of assessments that we could do with your business to look at capacity planning and look at your operations to really help us laser focus on specific bottlenecks, specific areas, and to help us mutually discover what the solutions to those problems might be. That's an approach that we really like to take because it's low cost and it's a collaborative environment. And by doing so, you've got all the data in front of you and you can't argue with the data. The data is going to take you to the right points where the problems really lie. So mission-based is a big thing for us. You've heard me say these words a number of times in this conversation before. You're going to hear them again. So anyone who meets me can tell, and poor Brian has met me throughout my career a number of times. He knows that I'm a sales guy through and through. I can't lie, and I'm not going to try to tell you that I'm not a sales guy. I am a sales guy, and I run the sales team here. But I am not measured on how much stuff I can sell to any one of you or any of the TDMAW members. It doesn't matter to my bottom line, and this is weird for me to get my head around. It doesn't matter if I harvest $1 from your business or $1 million. Well, maybe $1 million, my boss might like it if I brought in $1 million. That's not one of my metrics. The currency that we operate in at WMEP is the impact, and that is what our business customers tell us happens to their business after we wrap up our work. So if Jay's company asked us to do a project for them and we wrote them a proposal and told them what it would cost, and they sign on the bottom line, and we come in and we do our work and we wrap our project up, about 9 months later, he'll get a third-party survey from the federal government that's going to ask him a series of 14 questions about, were they nice? Did they show up on time? But most importantly, put financial dollars on the work that these guys did. Did they help you to grow? Did they help you to become more efficient? Did they help you to retain your workforce or add new customers or whatever that is? And the answers to those surveys is the currency that we operate in, because our federal and our state funders are looking every year at what do the surveys say, what is the voice of the customer, and should we fund WMEP, and should we continue to fund them, and should their funding decrease or increase? And every year our funding increases, and every year they see an enormous return on investment for companies like yourselves throughout the state, because we tend to have a 14-to-1 return on investment. So for every dollar that comes into WMEP, our customers say there's a $14 return on investment. So what makes us different is that focus on the bottom line for our customers and our focus on impact. So if you look at our 20 plus years of history, we've had a $4.65 billion economic impact on the state of Wisconsin. 2020 was actually a little low. When you look at a $250 million impact for the year, that's a little low, and that's reflective on the COVID environment. It tends to be about 300 million on an annualized basis if you look back over the last couple of years. This year, we're projecting 300, maybe even a 325 impact because of the amount of work that we did last year. So looking at individual service lines. So we've talked about philosophy, why we do what we do, how we do it, the mission. Now we're really digging into, okay, what are some of the individual things that WMEP specializes in? And a huge area of focus for us is operational excellence. And you can call it whatever you want. Some folks will call it OpEx or operational excellence. Some folks will call it lean manufacturing. Some folks will call it continuous improvement. Some folks will call it QRM, quick response manufacturing. Really, this is how do we get more production? How do we get more out of our existing manufacturing environment? So a guy like Brian might say, here are the walls of my building. Here's where my machinery is located. Here are my people. How do we eliminate waste? How do we maximize our return on investment? How do we get the most out of this? And there's a ton of individual tools that we can play with here, ranging from 5S and basic lean training, all the way to Lean Six Sigma, yellow, green, and black belt training, all the way to a lean transformation, which is bringing in a whole rainbow of offerings. Again, it's about cost and efficiency objectives and establishing a culture that sets new performance standards every day and keeping you moving forward. Does that make sense? I should pause because I'm talking a lot. Are there any questions yet?
How would you define establishing a culture?
In which area? In CI, OpEx?
Yeah.
Well, establishing a culture, this is going back to the root of the Toyota production system. If you look at an offering like training within industry, or go to Gemba, or the Gemba, go to where the work happens, go to the people that perform the work and talk to them about what do you do every day, how might you start to improve this, and leading those folks through Kaizen events or improvement activities to draw out their own ideas. Because generally speaking, the folks that are doing the work every day know how the work should be done and know the improvements that they could make to their work to improve their activities. If you draw those folks out, that's a fantastic way. That's where we've seen the best results of establishing a culture, setting that culture, and drawing that culture out and creating a culture that is not just going to embrace the change, that's going to lead it forward and take it to the next level.
So you're saying in a lot of cases, then the culture is one of the leading indicators of lack of success?
Yeah, because when we see CI programs that are not successful or have not been successful, they tend to be top-down driven activities where management says, this is what we are going to do, and this is how it's going to be done, and go and do it, rather than involving the workforce, involving the people that are going to make the changes and live with the changes, and drawing out their ideas and getting their active involvement and participation.
I would assume you get a lot of pushback then from upper management.
Not really. It's all on, because if upper management has seen their CI program failing, they know they know that the CI program isn't working, and all we can do is share with them our best practices and things that we've seen be successful with other companies. And when you give them neutral feedback, it's a question, Mike. It's a question of how you phrase the feedback to them. If I come to Brian and say, Brian, your ideas are all wrong, this is why your CI program ain't working, of course he's going to push back on that. But if Brian tells us my CI program ain't working, and we say, well, here are some techniques and ideas and ways that we've made it work with other companies, would you like to try some of those? It becomes it becomes more palatable.
Okay, thanks for answering that.
Oh, you're quite welcome. So that's kind of a flavor. So one last thing I want to mention about OpEx is this is really the foundation upon which our business has been built. We've been in business for more than 20 years. Truthfully, today, more than half of our active engagements are in the OpEx space because there's so much that can be done. And the companies that recognize the power of operational excellence, or CI or lean, recognize that it's not a one-time project. It's a journey. It's not a destination. It's a journey, and it's an ongoing evolution of how do you continue to roll this out? How do you continue to reinforce it? How do you continue to sharpen your tool set? So we do a lot of work there. But we're also, in today's world, we're doing a ton of work in the growth and strategy place. This is helping companies to understand, how do we run our business? How do we sell? What do we sell? So sometimes this is about exporting. So sometimes this is about new markets, whether it's exporting or domestic market expansion. Sometimes this is new product development. Sometimes this is examining a sales culture or a sales strategy, but sometimes this is also looking at their business and how do we do business, and where do we do business, and where do we want to play, and how do we want to win. And we're seeing a ton of demand for this right now because over the last couple of years, our world has changed. Like it or not, through this whole COVID world, there's been a lot of disruption. People have changed space, changed spots, markets have changed, market demand has changed, and we're finding a ton of companies that are looking at their world and saying, the world looks a little different than it used to. And we're thinking about where we want to go over the next 3 years. And now we need to re-examine, how do we do business? And that's where strategy formulation and execution comes into play. So there's a lot of demand for that today. I'm going to flip to the next slide, which is all about automation and technology. And honestly, if I had done a better job of building this slide deck, I would have put this right next to the continuous improvement or the operational excellence slide, because automation is the other side of the coin that continuous improvement lives on. These are two things that are very popular today because a lot of, and I'm sure a lot of you folks are hearing the same topic, there are no people. And the poor people that work in human resources today, I advise them to not abandon their hiring practices, but I tell them realistically, there are not a ton of active unemployed people out there that you want in your building. So you need to look at your continuous improvement strategy. The other side of that is potentially taking a look at automation and technology. And our services here, really, there are a lot of words here, but the one thing I want you to, oh, crud, sorry. There we go. The one thing I really want you to focus on is automation assessment. That is the main bread and butter that we have in the automation space. Assessment being the active word. We're completely agnostic. So we do not work for Samsung. We do not work for Fanuc robots. We do not care what robot or what system our client buys. For us, it's helping the client to understand where is the right place for this potential piece of equipment, how much risk does it pose to the business, and how much reward can it help to create. So our work really focuses on understanding their production environment, where the opportunities to implement automation exist, and then gathering a ton of data from them on cycle times and product variability and man hours and quality issues and ergonomic issues and all of the points of information that we can gather to help advise them, okay, if we've identified 15 areas where automation might make sense, what are the 3 that make the most sense for your business? And what do you want to look at on a multi-year strategy when you're looking to roll automation into your environment? That's the work that we do in that space. And there's a ton of demand for that right now because, as nobody is surprised, there are no people. So a lot of companies are looking at, all right, how do I take man hours out of this? How do I think about putting a sensor on this or a robot arm or any kind of automation?
Is that something that's within reach for small manufacturing shops? A lot of our members are on the small side.
When you say small, how small?
Well, I mean, 10 people.
It is. I mean, so it can be. So a lot of folks, when they start thinking about automation, immediately leap to the giant Fanuc robot that costs $500,000 and is in a big cage and comes with custom software and a custom implementation. That's a lot of money. For a 10-person shop, $500,000 investment is a significant investment. The way that the lens through which we look at this, because we do these automation advisor engagements with a lot of job shops and a lot of small to mid-sized businesses. And if I'm in a small job shop and I'm looking at one that deals with low volume, high mix environment, the lens through which you're going to look at that is going to look for flexible, lower cost automation opportunities. Now, that might not mean a robot arm. That might mean more sensors. That might mean more of an automated conveyor. It might mean something completely different. So it's really having the right folks look at the situation with the right lens. So the answer to your question is maybe. It really depends on the environment and their appetite and their ability to fund it. Because as we know, the automation stuff is not super inexpensive. But if you can find a system that can replace, so if you're a 10-person shop, you can and you can find a lending partner or a leasing partner that might help you fund an automation piece of equipment that allows you to take a job that used to take 3 people. Now you can have 1 person run that job. You can take those other 2 people and redeploy them to other areas of your business. A lot of these small to mid-sized shops are having a lot of growth in terms of orders, and that can allow that customer to keep pace with that growth without having to hire new people, because there are no new people.
Yeah, I would think there would be pressure to move towards automation with the way the employment pool is right now.
There is. And I tell you what, I just met with the commercial lending team of one of the largest banks in Metro Milwaukee, like earlier this morning. They have a huge appetite for funding these types of projects because they see the return on investment. They see the long-term viability. They see the long-term challenges with workforce. We're in the beginning of a 10-year journey to the next population boom. The workers shortage that we have today is not going anywhere. Now, Brian's already heard this spiel from our partner Chris Zarnick, but the population demographics are not changing anytime soon. Unfortunately, it's just what it is.
Have you done a dual partnership with maybe 2 small businesses, utilizing a system where you've said Jay and Brian would be 2 good partners? They get 1 piece of equipment and they partner on that purchase until they get enough business that they can expand their own and buy that second piece, if you will.
We have not done that because generally speaking, with all of the automation equipment that we have helped our clients to implement, they have wanted it so badly, and it becomes so deeply used in their business that they're not giving it up. So we have not played that angle yet, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right, let's flip to the next one. Certifications. This is one of those ugly areas, not ugly areas, but this is your quality management system, right? So this is your ISO program or any of the flavors of ISO, whether it's ISO 9001 or, God help you, if you're in the automotive space and you're dealing with IATF 16949. We can help implement, and we can help support these systems on a go-forward basis. One of the side things that I've seen, so there are a couple of key positions with manufacturing companies that I've seen a lot of movement in lately. So I've seen a lot of movement with HR people, because the HR people are getting beat up because they can't hire any people. They're unhappy, so they've been leaving a lot. I've seen a lot of movement with controllers, CFOs. I'm not quite sure why, but I've seen a lot of movement also in the quality systems for a lot of our clients. And the point of that is, when a quality manager leaves a business, their internal auditing program can really fall off, because it tends to be the quality manager that owns that internal auditing program. And when it's time for the external registrar to come in a visit, either for the annual certifying audit or for the research, if the quality manager is not there and the internal auditing program has not been kept up, that ain't gonna fly. The whole point of this is we have a deep bench in the ISO world, and we are helping a lot of clients by being their internal auditing arm of their business, where they just contract us every year to come in and help them run their internal auditing program. Oh, human capital. People. This is a challenging one. And I want to be honest with you guys. I am not, as wonderful as I am and as wonderful as WMEP is, I am not magic. And we are not magic. And we are not a staffing agency. And I do not have a bus full of people that I can pull up to your front door and solve all of your people challenges. That's not what the human capital practice is about. Human capital practice for us is all about helping clients to improve their internal practices. So how can we help you to button up your not just your recruiting process, but your onboarding, your training, and your development program internally, so that you can ultimately upskill folks, you can make the highest best use of that person within your business? How can you boost your odds of retaining that person so long as you desire? And one of the things that we are seeing a ton of demand for right now is on the leadership training and coaching, specifically frontline leader development. These are your team leads, your cell supervisors, your department managers. And in manufacturing, the tendency is to take the most skilled operator and elevate them to be a supervisor. And that those folks are very rarely trained and given the tools to become successful. We can help with that because we've seen the amount of disruption it creates when you've got the wrong people in the wrong seats on the bus. I need to pause and take a sip of water, so I should let anybody ask any questions if they have any. Hearing none, I'm going to carry on. So that's a quick look at what the human capital service line does. And then we also offer a whole pathway, a whole suite of services in sustainability. This is one that when we meet with small to mid-sized manufacturers is very easy to dismiss because, oh, it sounds like some namby-pamby stuff. It sounds like some fluffy language. The way that we look at sustainability is through the same lens that we look at OpEx. This is about efficiency. This is about saving dollars. This is about looking at your machine time on and off. This is about looking at your transportation program. This is looking at your logistics. This is looking at the whole envelope of your building. And there's real dollars that a lot of companies are leaving on the table by ignoring their sustainability play. So that's just a quick thought about how we look at that. Now, when we were talking about this, we talked about the three most popular service lines today. And I don't have a good graphic for this, but I'm going to draw you a picture of a triangle. And every time I talk with, uh-oh, that's not me. I'm not the guilty party. Ha ha. There's a three-legged, a pyramid, if you will. And in the middle of the pyramid represents your business. If you're a small to mid-sized manufacturer, dollars are in the middle because every manufacturer is seeing, or almost all the manufacturers that I talk to are seeing an increased demand for their product. Most of them are having a really hard time getting product out the door. So there are three levers that you can pull to try to deal with that. One of them is your continuous improvement program, right? So how can we get more out of this? How can we eliminate waste? How can we boost productivity without making major investments in terms of new processes and new people? That's one leg of the stool. Another leg is human capital. So can we throw people at this? Can we hire more people? Can we train our people? Can we do something different with our people? Can we elevate a couple of internal folks and have some new leadership to take us in bold new directions? That's another way that we could play with this. The third is automation and technology. And so if we've maximized our continuous improvement, how do we augment that with some robots or some sensors or some real automation? Those are the three, and realistically, those are the three most popular service lines. And it becomes a conversation with our clients of talking about where is your business today and where do you want to go in a couple of years from now? And what are the things getting in the way of you achieving that goal and picking the most impactful area of the business for us to work with them on and start moving them towards that goal. So the effectiveness and return on investment, this gets back to, that approximate 14-to-1 return on investment for us. It's also, our mission is not to be the biggest sales organization in the world. Our mission is to work with the small to mid-sized manufacturers throughout the state of Wisconsin and to help them become the best that they can be, to add dollars to their bottom line, to make them more effective at doing what they want and need to do. So again, that's how we're measured. Our measurement is not in terms of how many dollars we can harvest. It's what our clients say about the work that we do and the financial return on investment that we've been able to generate for them. This is a quick look at, these are not WMEP numbers. These are MEP national network numbers in terms of fiscal 2020, creating almost 106,000 jobs around the country, 2.7 billion cost savings, 13 billion in new and retained sales. And this last number, just have to move my pillar here, of 4.9 billion in new client investments. Now is a quick opportunity to talk about, so we do all kinds of workshops, conversations like this. We do public offer workshops, we do webinars, but we've got a show that is coming up. So if you've ever attended Manufacturing Matters, it's our annual conference that we have every year. Typically, it's at the end of February. This year, we were looking around, and with the COVID spikes that we've been having here in the southeastern part of the state, frankly, all over the state, we were seeing registration a little lower than we wanted. We've actually decided to delay Manufacturing Matters until the end of April. It's going to be in person. It's going to be in downtown Milwaukee at the Hyatt, just like normal, but we've moved it out a couple of months to try to let this whole COVID situation settle down a little bit. But I'll tell you, if you've ever been there, it's the best manufacturing education environment I've ever been in. One of the best networking opportunities I've ever seen, and a fantastic day for manufacturers to spend.
Do you have that date in April, Eric, or?
I believe it is April 29th. Just bear with me. I'm going to look at my calendar on my phone really quick, but I feel like it is April 29. Just bear with me here. April 29th. Friday? That is Friday the 29th. Yes.
Yep. Great.
And that, my friends, takes me to the end of my little presentation. So I will stop sharing and I will. Oh, crud, what happened? There we go.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, there we go. I clicked on the Zoom screen went away. So I was like, oh, what happened here?
Oh yeah, no, you're still here.
So that I'd like to open it up to the floor to ask any question, to answer any questions or any feedback at this stage.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to say something, because Wayne and I've used Eric for a couple of different programs now, and we're both pretty frugal, so it's pretty low cost, but they're not hard sales. I know when we first started the company, they did an energy analysis for them and saved us thousands of dollars by looking at our air leaks and our compressors, and went to our QC lab and improved our air conditioning, HVAC. So we had to invest a little bit in making the changes, but we definitely got our money back. And I would believe that our people should be all over winning the war on talent, because he came in here, what was his name, Chris?
Chris, yes.
Chris came in here, he's definitely a passionate, well-versed person in HR. And, we only spent like 8 hours with him actually there was more hours that we could have spent, but just a little bit of talk we had on that first day, and instead of us putting out the mundane sign like everyone else has in the area, thousands of shops trying to attract the same people, we came up with a tagline and a sign we put on our building, and we just had tons of the neighbors coming in here looking for jobs.
Excellent.
And
that's good.
We were able to, we're able to absorb people that don't have training. In fact, one of our taglines is no experience preferred, not just necessary, because we have trainers out here. And that was one of the lines that Chris gave us. So all I'm saying is they don't come in here and hard sell you, and they'll just take bits and pieces of your operation. And if you want to just work on one thing at a time, they're there for you. So
Brian, thank you for that. You're 100% correct. Our job and our mission really is to sort of meet our clients where they're at, and we can work on really targeted small engagements, and we can go all the way up to a a transformation, a multi-year transformation of the business, and everything in between. So for us, it becomes a question of where are you? What do you want to do? And how can we help you get there?